Okay, in this little video we're going to do another one of our exercises. We're now going to look at this gasket and look at how we might some of the ways that you might do it. You could have your own way. There's no right or wrong way necessarily, but you do want to try and come up with a way that makes the most sense to you and is sort of the most efficient for you when you're doing it. So let's have a look. We'll start out with a line. Again, oops, let's change that over there. Let's come back and click in here. We'll turn our mouse highlight back on. And so we've got, we want to draw a line in here. So L for line. The top of this is 140. And then we want to come down 40, making sure I'm keeping those green inferencing lines where they should be. Now I've got a sense of scale. I can zoom in so I can see it easier. Come out this way, we've got to do a bit of maths here. The overall is 200. This is 140, so 60 in there. And then we can come down 80. Now at this point, we either want to work out where this other point is. We don't know the angle, we don't know the length of this line. So we can work out again with a bit of maths where this corner is, or we could push escape, go back to the beginning and come around the other way. So let's do that. Escape, line, start here and now come down this way, 180, then come across 130, and then we can go up and join on to the last bit. So now when we go to put in the circles, there's again multiple ways to do it. So we could draw the circle just on the corner. Again, checking, it's giving us a diameter of 60, so we want a radius of 30. Then take that circle and move. We want to take the center, we want to move it down and across. X sort of comes first, so the X component is 40, so 40, comma, we're coming down in the Y, negative 80, there it goes, and then circle, center, that one's 45, so a radius of 22.5, and then we'd grab that, move, and move that across 77. Now, with our inferencing lines turned on, there's actually, you can cut some of those steps down, and this will depend on the settings and how your AutoCAD is set up. But if we want to use our inferencing lines, we could, when we start our circle, come up here, and then we can come down, and we can see that number counting as I'm moving the mouse. We can't do both at once, but we could come down and type in our 80, enter. So now the circle has started at 80 down, put in the 30, and then when we move, we've only got to move it across 40. So then when we do the next circle, we could do the same thing. If we hover over it and get the center, and then we start moving to the side, we're now getting the distance from that center at 77, enter, and then we can draw that circle. And again, if you don't know, and if you don't want to quickly do the maths, it says 45 diameter, so we could go down to diameter and type in 45. Okay, so a couple of different little ways that we could position those circles. The other thing you could do with this, if you were using absolute coordinates or even using relative coordinates, we could still employ the use of our x0, y0. So line, specify the point, 0, 0, enter. So that's our x0, y0. The next point would be 140 in the X, comma, 0 in the Y. So there's our line that's 140 long. Now what I might do for this, I'm actually going to go and turn off the inferencing lines, because what I'm actually wanting to do is not use those lines and use my coordinates instead. So now it's relative at the moment. So I can just say I want to go 0 in the X, comma, I want to come down, so it's negative 40. And then I want to go straight across 60, comma, 0 in the Y. Come down, I'll zoom in a little bit. Come down again, 0 in the X this time, and negative 80. Now you notice the AutoCAD in the standard setting is set to relative coordinates. We've talked about that in class. But what is happening when I go to actually type my coordinate in, you'll notice. So in this one, we'll do a bit of maths. So it's 200 to this point is 130. So therefore, this distance here must be 70. It's 180 minus 80 is 100 minus 40 is 60. So it's 60 in the Y and 70 in the X. So if I come over here, it's a relative system, or it's using relative coordinates. So my negative 70 in the X is relative to where I've started. But when I type it, negative 70, comma, what AutoCAD is doing is actually jumping way off to the left to the absolute negative 70. But then when I put in my Y value of negative 40, and now suddenly jumps back to this point, which is relative to the original. So don't get worried about that. It is something weird that AutoCAD does. When you're in this relative mode and you're entering Cartesian coordinates, it actually sort of jumps to where the absolute value would be, and then when you hit enter, it comes back to where you expect it. So again, I want to go negative 130, comma, it jumps way over to negative 130 as an absolute from x0. But then when I put in 0 from my Y, enter, it jumps back to that relative coordinate, which is actually 130 from there. And then we can go up, join it on. So now this starts to, so then if we want to do our circle, C, enter. So now I can type in the coordinates for the center point as being 40 in the X, comma, minus 80 in the Y, enter, and there's the circle down where it should be. We want a diameter for this. Now I've been going down and clicking on it. The other thing you could do is hit D, enter, and that's changed it to a diameter, 60. Okay, so now circle again. In the X, it's going to be 40 plus 77. So what's that? 117, I think. So 117, comma, negative 80, enter, there it is. D for diameter again, and this one is 45. Okay, so that's a couple of ways to draw the bracket. I don't really need to do this, but I'm just moving them down so they're closer together. All right, good luck. We'll catch you next time.